Yes, it's movie talk with JP Sebastian, and he is dressed up and ready to go, my friend. He's here to whip us into shape, literally. JP, just don't rip out my heart, my friend.
I swear,
you know what I'm saying. You
be
catch my drift. You guys get where I'm going with this, eh? Indiana Jones, the Dial of Destiny. You look very dangerous, my friend. It looks like you're about to jump in and go and explore some cave somewhere. I mean, Indiana Jones, the entire franchise, I mean, it all got us excited for adventure and archaeology and discovery, you know?
Yeah, so I want to talk about the cultural significance of these things and what Indiana did maybe to the way people think about movies, maybe to the way people think about archaeology, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Starting off with the character itself. So this section I'm calling the man in this segment of Unearthing Indy, the man, the myth, and the meta. And so Indiana Jones is interesting. You first have to start off, obviously, with the man behind the camera, which is Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
And Spielberg is the guy who gave us E.T., and E.T. is important here because E.T. is an alien without claws, without teeth. And it was a reversal on the way we thought about extraterrestrial life, et cetera, et cetera. And in the same way, Indiana Jones comes along, and it's a different way of thinking about macho. What Spielberg is harking back to here, obviously, is the times of, say, Lawrence of Arabia. Ever you seen a Clark Gable poster? He's always dipping a girl in his flowing billow with sort of like gowns and blouses on men and all that kind of stuff. But here, Indiana Jones feels like a break for a lot of people in 1981 in that he's a weasel at times.
Yeah.
He's self-interested at times. He can be arrogant, he can be aggressive, he can make mistakes. He sometimes gets the beat down put on himself too, which sadly is something that a conversation that we're only having now after John Wick. It's like, wait, heroes can get beaten up as well, but like Indiana is the person who sets the pace.
Yeah.
This movie is before Bruce Willis plays John McClane, gets his, butt beat to pate. And in the same way, Indiana Jones is this multifaceted, multi-dimensional character that I don't think that people were used to before. Men had everything sort of cracked and everything in shape and the trajectory of their own adventure mapped out before them as men of destiny, et cetera, et cetera. But he's a human. And Harrison Ford is this kind of actor who humanizes this character in a way that changed a lot of people's ways of thinking about the nerdy character.
Yeah.
And so very quickly, like the point being is that also before this, James Bond, you had Q, the quartermaster, the guy with the gadgets. And he was always the science guy. Spock is always mocked by Captain Kirk and McCoy because he's the nerdy science guy. Yeah, however, so you've got this imperfect, asymmetrical, man's mensch type man who Indiana Jones is, and at the same time an archaeologist who is given the swashbuckling cut of a hero that we hadn't seen in movies before, the science dude getting his place in the sun as well.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Can I just first acknowledge that you fit this role perfectly. You make it look good, dude. But I mean, this is exciting. So we just seen the release of the new one, Dial of Destiny, on Friday.
Yes, yes.
And what's your take, my friend? Because I mean, here's Harrison Ford. I mean, this is almost decades after. I mean, he started his first one.
We need only ask what the culture's take is on this. And so in this section, I want to talk about the myth of Indiana Jones itself. And the fact that, obviously it's had an impact on archaeology, and I think we have an archaeologist in the studio, they might be able to discuss
We're going to be deep diving
that
today,
there's a bit of a love-hate relationship possibly between the two worlds. So for us as average people who aren't archaeologists, we find it so sort of endearing, and there was a record amount of enrollments into university courses for archaeology, et cetera, at the time that this movie came out. And the problem being is that that's not the way archaeology works. But there's this weird sort of reflexive appreciation of this cultural product that the movie is, that archaeologists would themselves say, it's a part of your own culture, enjoy it, even if it isn't, it's a high fantasy idea of what the academic world is. And so the movie has 2 props in the Smithsonian Museum, and it is one of 850 movies in the Library of Congress, which is, say, Raiders of the Lost Ark, because of its being deemed as historically and culturally significant. And aside from that, just the culture in terms of, its pop sort of reach. We have The Mummy, of course, which has Indiana Jones to thank for it. We have anything that when The Rock finds himself trapped in a jungle, as he often does, every second movie he makes, it is thanks to Indiana Jones. And aside from that, Tomb Raider, Lara Croft, Uncharted, et cetera, taking the spin of, like I said, this character of the archaeological scientist, et cetera, into the realms of adventure. Never had been done before, and obviously a lot of movies take their lead from that.
Yeah, Absolutely. Can you still remember the very first Indiana Jones movie that you saw?
Steven Spielberg has this weird way of like burning something into your memory.
Yeah,
as a kid.
for sure.
He
Because
has like
Temple of Doom
creepy
freaks
stuff.
me out completely.
Dude, the heart scene.
That's exactly it.
As a child, and that's burned in your memory. Like, they were even like, wait, is this PG-13? It's the movie that introduces PG-13.
Yeah.
No, for real. It didn't exist before this.
No way.
But hey, you know, it's for me, I suppose, the face melting of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest special effects that to this day sort of stands up despite any kind of challenges in the CG realm of things. The practical just works. But interestingly, just quickly, while we're talking about Spielberg and his impact that he had, obviously co-producer here is George Lucas. And George Lucas and him disagreed a lot. George Lucas wanted Indy to be a bit of a playboy, and the other one wanted Indy to be this academic sort of, being Spielberg, nerdy type character. So what's very sweet is that they did give each other their chance to have this sort of character, and it's all brought to this sort of rounding place in Dial of Destiny, where you have Indiana Jones in his weird later life dejected sort of state, leaving the sort of world of adventure, re-entering the world of adventure, realizing that there's still a place in his heart for taking care of whether artifacts, culture, etc., etc. And you get to experience it out in the cinema.
That's it. Well, I'm excited for it, but listen,
Right
I'm
now.
also excited for your chat with Mads Mikkelsen coming up a little bit later on. We'll see how that went down. Stick around for that with JP a little bit later on. Right now, we are discovering rather interesting and new things right now while cracking the whip.